Welcome, everybody. This is Administration and Public Works. Our chair is not here this evening, so I'm going to fill in. We're going to ask for your patience tonight. We have Alderman Holmes on the phone. As you might have noticed on the yellow agenda, it indicates that she'll be on the phone with us. She's recovering beautifully from knee surgery and can't wait to have her back. But this is the second best thing, having her here. But there's going to be a delay, so we're just all going to be patient and just try and get through this. So first item is approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of June 27. I'll move approval.
Second.
All right. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes, are you voting?
Aye.
See? Thank you. All right. What we're going to do before we get to our agenda is we have 3 people signed up to speak on various items. I'll read your 3 names, and you can come up one after another. Debbie Wexel is speaking on the golf course issue. Wendy Pollack on tree keepers, the grant that we're hoping to apply for, and Dan Skirmahorn on energy benchmarking. Welcome, Debbie.
Debbie Weissel, I live at Evanston Terrace at 1201 29 Central Street. I'm also on the board of the Canal Shores Golf Course Association. I'm just here to voice our recommendation to you that you approve the extended parking agreement for Northwestern to have a home football game, parking at the course, and of course on another hole to have parking for non-Northwestern activities, which alleviates a lot of parking for the neighborhood. It's worked really well for the last 5 years or so. This is the second time we're renewing it for a 3-year term. Neighbors are content, everybody's happy, and it seems to be a real win for everybody. So we urge you to thank you very much.
Thanks. All right. Welcome. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. I'm Wendy Pollack, involved with Evanston Tree Keepers, Alata Arboretum, and other natural habitat projects around the city. So I just wanted very briefly to thank you for considering this as item A5 on your agenda, the resolution to authorize the city manager to submit this grant application. It would help to pay for enhancing migratory bird habitat on both sides of the channel in the Arboretum, Twiggs Park, Harvard Park. And I really want to thank the Alderman Braithwaite, Holmes, and Revelle for having expressed interest and support for this, and the other members of the community who've been involved in coming up with the idea, and the staff, Paul D'Agostino and Kumar Jensen. And I hope that you will support it. I hope that we're successful, and I can promise that the groups that are helping to maintain some of these sites will continue to do so as we expand the areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dan Skirmahorn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the energy benchmarking issue, which I believe is item A10 on your agenda. I'm speaking here on behalf of the practical application of the proposed ordinance, which I believe is not necessary from the standpoint of, to me, energy benchmarking is there to show a property owner where their energy use is being spent. I can tell you that property owners have been way ahead of this energy benchmarking issue for probably 30 years and looking after ways they can reduce the cost of energy usage, whether it's gas, electricity, or water. I sent an email to the entire council and the mayor this afternoon, so I'll let you read that without repeating it word for word. But basically, the property owners know full well the cost of energy and the cost of energy over the years and ways to reduce those costs, whether it's changing out fixtures, putting in more efficient systems to monitor the heat and electricity uses and reducing water flow through low-flow toilets and other methods. We've been doing that for years. We don't need to gather this data, send it to the city, and have him give it back to us and tell us what we already know. So I don't really see the benefit of benchmarking to the property owner who is basically burdened with the job of gathering this information and supplying it to the city. Lastly, the cost for the city to administer a program like this of tracking the use of utilities, electric, water, gas. For one, you already track water. We would basically be giving back to you the information you give to us on our water bills every other month, so not really sure why we would need to go through that process. And I think there's enough limited resources to the city that to use for a program such as this is really kind of a waste of the resources that we have. So believe me when I tell you the property owners are already keenly aware of the cost of energy and doing everything they can to reduce that and thereby reduce the emissions, et cetera. But I don't see the benefit of this mandatory benchmarking. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? No? Okay. Let's move on. First item on the agenda, A1, is the City of Evanston payroll through July 10, $3,177,783.49. And the City of Evanston bills, $1,390,847.77. May I have a second?
Second.
Any questions on either of these?
No.
No? Alderman Wynn? No. You're okay? All right. All those in favor of recommending A1 and 2 to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Braithwaite.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 3.1, equipment purchase with Monroe Truck Equipment to upfit the fleet service in the dollar amount of, $25,763?
Okay.
That's for action.
Second. I mean, is it, I
Yeah,
don't
this
know.
is it. We're just going to have to
Would you,
I'll say second. Would you?
I can say second.
Yeah.
All right, any discussion on this? Anybody have any problems with this? No. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Alderman Wynn.
Yes, item 3.12. One-year renewal agreement with Professional Account Management LLC for parking ticket management and payment processing. This is a one-year optional contract extension. Because this administers the outsourced portion of the city's parking ticket management and payment processing functions, and in the amount is $320,000. This is for action tonight.
I think he's because
All
he
right,
can't.
any discussion about this? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending Duncan Solutions, is it Duncan Solutions? Yeah.
Yes, it's Duncan Solutions.
Right. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is a 3-year agreement for Northwestern football parking on the Evanston-Wilmette Golf Course during home football games. This is really a continuation of our agreement in the past with a few minor changes, and including an hour earlier for pregame presence.
Second?
Alderman Holmes, do you have any questions on this?
No, definitely.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 3.4. It's a special event permit request from Rotary Citizens for Greener Evanston and McGaw YMCA.
Okay.
Second?
Sounds good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Nguyen?
Yes, Madam Chair. Items A, 3.5 is for a sidewalk cafe at Nakon Restaurant. Staff recommends City Council approve first-time application for a sidewalk cafe permit for Nakon Restaurant at 1622 Orrington Avenue. I move back this
Second.
for action.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is contract with A-Lamp Concrete Contractors for the 2016 Community Development Block Grant Resurfacing and SNAP Lighting Program. The CDBG committee the other evening approved additional funds for this, and the total amount will be $205,000, and then from the GO bonds in the amount of $5,419.50.
A second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A 3.7. It's the agreement with Reliable and Associates Construction Company, Inc. For 2016 Church Street and Maple Avenue Garage Repair Project. And that's in the dollar amount of $1,568,800. It's for action.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes, Madam Chair, item A 3.8 is an agreement with Morton Salt Company for rock salt purchase. The staff recommends City Council approve a one-year contract for the purchase of up to 7,500 tons of rock salt from Morton Salt Company at a cost of $51.21 per ton for the winter season for $384,075. That's for action tonight.
Any discussion on this one? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we have approval of the city's electricity supply agreement for 23 city properties. And we received notice today of the results of the bidders. And selected was, I'm going to have to read some of this, Dynergy Energy Services. They're going to provide a total price for a 3-year period of 5.637 cents per kilowatt hours. And this includes the renewable energy credits, certified Greenie, certified renewable energy credits from a wind power generator in Illinois or in an adjoining state. So that was the total price, 5.637 cents for the next 3 years, 36 months.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any staff or the Utility Commission want to say anything about this? No? Okay. All those in favor of recommending to the council say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 3.10 as change order number 2 for the water treatment plant roof and masonry improvement agreement with Garland. Staff recommends City Council authorize City Manager to execute the change order number 2. That's going to be in the dollar amount of $3,000. This will increase the total contract amount from the original contract price of $511,273 to $514,273.
Right.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item A4 is Resolution 56R16, authorizing the city manager to execute the professional services agreement with the James B. Moran Center for Certificate of Rehabilitation Program. This is a rehabilitation program which will provide legal services for not less than 9 Evanston residents to secure certificates of rehabilitation in an amount not to exceed $30,000.
Okay.
This is for action.
All right. Any discussion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Okay.
Good program.
All those in favor of recommending to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next is Resolution 57R16, authorizes the city manager to submit a grant application for the Chi-Cal Rivers Fund administered by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. This is an amazing grant. I'm assuming we're going to get it, but it provides for $100,000 with a match and just does all sorts of critical work that we would otherwise really should but not be able to afford to do. So,
Second.
Yep.
any further discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A6, Resolution 49-R-16, authorizing the city manager to sign an amended agreement with IDOT to fund the intersection improvements for Emerson Ridge Green Bay construction project.
Second.
It requires us to pay a local share.
Yeah.
Totaling
$5,366,502.
It's a big project.
It's a big project.
It really is. And we've gotten our money from the state, right? I mean,
That's-
they were holding it up, right?
Can we
Now
get-
we're getting it.
Yes.
Yes.
We
yes,
shouldn't have
they-
any other. So how has that adjusted the timeline, Marty, to get the project done?
Mr. Stonebeck is here as far, Ms. Biggs, as far as the 1 week delay. I know I counted it approximately 2 weeks that they were off the job site, but maybe a little under.
And wasn't there an issue with where they were going to store their vehicles? They didn't want to leave the area. So is everyone still in the same area? And what's the timeline to get the project done?
Honored members of committee, I am Laura Biggs, Bureau Chief of Capital Planning. So yes, when the IDOT required the job to shut down, we demobilized. We allowed them to store their equipment at James Park temporarily
Okay.
in a site that we use for leaf hauling and composting, so it wasn't being used at this time of year. They removed their equipment. The shutdown that was allowed by IDOT was 5 days. So the way IDOT contracts work is they gain so many working days. If it's a rain day, IDOT agrees it's not a working day. It's not quite the same as calendar days, but they basically got a 5-day delay on the contract, and that's it. It did take them a while longer to remobilize than would have been ideal, and we pushed them, staff pushed them, and they're bringing out multiple crews now, starting this week, in order to be able to move much more quickly on getting work done.
What's the completion date expected?
The completion date is in November. I'm not sure the exact date, but I can get that information for you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
All those in favor of recommending this to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a question.
Wait, Laura, come
Laura.
back. We're hearing you loud and clear.
Just wanted to know, are we anticipating finishing the project around the due date?
One more time.
I anticipate to finish the project around the original due date.
Oh,
The timeline.
original date. Is it the original date or is it later?
It will be approximately 1 week later.
Alderman Holmes, did you hear that? 1 week later than the original.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Did we vote on that?
A7.
Okay.
A7 is Resolution 48R16, authorizing the city manager to enter into a 7-year parking lease agreement with 1571 Maple Avenue at the city garage located at 1800 Maple. This will be for 101 parking spaces for the 1571 Maple Avenue building. This is for action tonight.
Second. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, all those, if there's no discussion, Alderman Holmes, no questions?
No, I think that.
All right, all those in favor of recommending this to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Ordinance 62-016 authorizes the city manager to execute a 5-year lease agreement for property located at 860 Chicago Avenue for the city newsstand. This is at Main and Chicago, the famous newsstand. So this has been there for so long now on its second iteration. So I move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A9, the ordinance 85-0-16, authorizing the city manager to execute a 5-year property lease with Enterprise Leasing of Chicago, LLC, at 1810 Maple Avenue. And that's for a 5-year lease agreement with an option to extend another 5 as well.
Second. Any discussion? This has been a long-term tenant
Yeah.
also. All those in favor of recommending introduction to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have item A10, ordinance 33016, amending Title IV of the Evanston City Code codifying a building energy and water use benchmarking ordinance, which has 3 major components: tracking, verifying, and publicly disclosing building energy and water usage. This is for introduction.
Second. Any discussion? Yes.
Yeah.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Who's the staff person on this? Kamar? Maybe you can just enlighten us a little bit, or tell me, or I don't know how anyone else feels, just to sell a little bit of value. Like I've received a couple of emails and phone calls for some of the businesses not understanding the purpose of this, and I think I would agree with the previous speaker. So we actually issue the water bills, so we know that, and I'm making an assumption that we can make a distinction between residential, commercial businesses just by tracking whatever algorithm you want to set up in the system. And then I'd like to make assumption that ComEd can do the same thing now that we're integrating over to the smart meters. So I'm searching for the value in what we're trying to do, and I do have a serious issue with the penalties that we're going to start passing along to businesses for this information. And it really wasn't spelled out in the packet how often we can fine. So if I was a business person, so if I don't comply, is this now a monthly fine that they're going to start getting? Help me to understand what it is that we're trying to do here.
Right. So good evening, honorable members of the committee. My name is Kumar Jensen. I'm the Environmental Project Coordinator in the Public Works Agency. So Alderman Braithwaite, to your first question about thinking about sort of the different ways that the city is able to provide and other utilities are able to provide data to individual properties. So each utility, the city's Water Production Bureau being one of those, obviously, has a different process. And so around the country, the predominant way that these types of ordinances are implemented are to use a free online platform called Portfolio Manager, which allows for the electronic transfer and solicitation of these different pieces of data. And so, for example, a multi-unit building that may be covered by this ordinance could request through a Portfolio Manager to get their electricity data directly through the software, and ComEd could provide that directly to them. And so ComEd's actually been doing this type of process for almost 12 years now. And so, yes, we can also do that with the city's data. And so the thing that is a little bit different about just having that data is that Portfolio Manager actually helps people understand what that performance means from the standpoint of whole building performance. And so you put in a few different building characteristics, and that's your own private information, and then it will actually provide some metrics on how your building is performing over time. So you can see, for example, how you're performing in 2012 versus 2015, and then it also will help you see how you're performing compared to similar types of buildings as well. And so it provides metrics on usage, but also on things like greenhouse gas emissions. And so from the standpoint of, what's that additional value there, a lot of buildings may be doing some level of tracking or looking at their invoices, but there's some data out by the EPA that demonstrates that just by doing the process of tracking and looking at that usage over time, those buildings have seen an average decrease of about 7% in annual energy usage. And so we think there is a significant benefit to providing additional tools for building owners to be able to look at that information. And I do want to make one other just quick distinction, that it's not going to be individual tenants within a building that would be required to comply. It would be building owners and groups of owners. And so ComEd does a very good job, and we do a very good job of providing aggregated building level data. So it's not an individual business who will have to, provide their information to a property owner. So that information is kept private in the reporting process. And so one building would then report their entire data.
I still don't get it. I have to
Melissa, did you have a question?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a
Please,
question?
please.
Why, see, I agree with the end result of this, to reduce the carbon footprint. That's what we
Right.
want to work towards. We want people to see that they're doing that or not doing that and help them change their behavior so that they do. However, as Dan said, Skirmahorn said, if you're running a building that is of the size of the buildings we're interested in, 10,000 to 100,000 square feet and up,
You're paying attention to that
you are
information.
watching those numbers like a hawk. I mean,
yeah.
and
Right.
there's none of this, well, if maybe you're tracking it over the years, you are tracking it. I mean, if you're not, then you're obviously very rich or really stupid. So, I would like to see, and I want to get the results, but I would like to see something where you would get permission from buildings that meet this criteria
Yeah.
to have Commonwealth Edison provide you with that information so that we could do the tracking. And I just can't see. I believe it will be a burden. I really do. And we know what they're spending on water.
Right.
And we could set up a formula for alerts, and track that information. And I believe this was a wonderful idea, but I can see where there's going to be tremendous resistance.
Plus
And,
the fines.
pardon me?
There's a fine. There's a
Well,
penalty.
I mean, that just makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, that's got to just go away.
Madam Chair, could I do have a comment.
Okay, well, can I wait till I finish? So I want to know the information just like you do, and I know it's important, but there's got to be another way. Alderman Nguyen.
Well, I was thinking of, instead of the fines, is there some way we can incentivize people to provide the information instead? Because as Alderman Rainey says, we want this information, and I think it's interesting that as soon as people track it, that they start managing their energy usage. And Skirmahorn, I'm sure, has been doing a wonderful job for years. There are probably many buildings that may not have thought about doing this, or didn't quite realize exactly what the information was, or didn't have it all together. So it would, I think, rather than what we really want is compliance. So is there a way that instead we incentivize people to do it rather than penalize people?
Right. So on the topic of penalizing, there are about 19 other municipalities or levels of government around the country that have a similar type of ordinance. They're not all exactly the same as the language we have. And to my knowledge, and we've spoken to a lot of them, none of them have levied fines, even though they have it within their ordinance structure. The largest goal here, as you all have certainly noted, is to have that information and to ensure that buildings are tracking that and being able to look at their building performance. And so the way a lot of different implementation structures have been developed have been focused on providing resources and pro bono resources in most cases to property owners, because as you mentioned, there may be some building owners who are not as familiar with the process but could still certainly benefit from participating in it. And so the City of Chicago has done a wonderful job working with a few regional nonprofits to actually develop networks of professionals that will provide pro bono support for first-time or building owners that don't have as much experience doing this type of tracking. And they've had really great results from that process. And so that's something we would definitely like to mimic in the implementation of the ordinance is finding resources and providing those to people in a very active way, not just putting information up on a website, but doing pro bono, office hours and providing trainings as well.
So can you provide before our next meeting, this is reaction, yes. So can you provide before our next meeting more information about that type of program?
Of course, certainly.
Because we don't want to put something in place and then have people be unable to follow it also. The point is that we want to drop energy usage if we can. So it's beneficial to everyone, but you don't want to make it so onerous that it comes across as the city being too heavy-handed.
And we don't want sanctions that we're not going to enforce.
Oh, yeah.
So I would prefer just taking out any sign of a fine.
Yeah.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I was just going to make that recommendation. So I'm going to recommend holding this. And I would also, a couple of notes, just summarizing what I've heard. I would like to see the $50 fine removed. I'd also like to encourage you to do a little bit of outreach to our businesses. I don't receive the commercial ComEd bill, but I know with our residential bill, they send us the year over year, they send us the monthly comparisons. I receive information about ways and energy bulbs, et cetera. So I'd like to think between the information that our businesses are receiving from ComEd, in addition to that, the non-for-profit, Citizens for Greener Energy is always doing some work. Let's understand what we're doing first before we go making up another ordinance. And I totally get the direction of this. The information is good, it's just how we're going about doing it. And my concern is the backlash that we're going to receive from our business community without reaching out to them and trying to pass this through.
Well, and also in the residential bills, I don't see commercial bills anymore.
Yeah.
But the residential bills, I get what I did last year. The bar graphs.
Comparison to
I
your
get
neighbors?
compared to my neighbors, so, I'm the worst, so I start unplugging the curling iron overnight and turning off the TV. But, so, those things matter to me. I like knowing that I'm the worst on the block. But that information is all there. Let's seize it. Let's use it. And I just bet that it would be interesting to do a survey, just sort of an overview of the buildings that we have in Evanston and pick out some of the most common buildings, 24 units, 6 unit, and get permission to access that information.
And publish it. I would want to.
And see how, get permission from the buildings and just to see what we've got. We could find out that buildings have been reducing their energy every year for the last 5 years since it's become, a serious situation. So just some ideas, that's all. But I agree to hold it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Alderman Holmes,
Alderman
you're
Holmes.
next.
Go ahead, Alderman Holmes.
Alderman Rainey, I would be helpful just asking permission from the owners to get the information directly from ComEd. That might be something that they might be able to look into for the next meeting to see if that's possible.
Yes, we will do that. Did you hear her? She would like you to get that, find out from ComEd before our next meeting if we got permission, would they release that information to us?
So, I can speak to that at the moment, but I'm also willing to look into it a little bit more. Our understanding in our conversations with ComEd and NICOR both are that they will not release data directly to the city. It all has to be requested by the owner or their legal agent. And so that's one reason why a lot of these ordinances are structured in this way, is to maintain that connection between the owner and the utility and that level of privacy. And so, but I can ask further.
Okay. All right, we're going to give it a try. All right, so that's been held. Anything else here?
You have one more.
We have one more.
Taxi cabs.
Okay. Is that yours, Peter?
Is that- yeah,
Why
I
don't
can
you
read
do
that.
that?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A11, ordinance 66-0-16, revising Title III, Chapter 17 regarding taxi cabs and motor vehicle hire. City staff recommends the City Council adopt ordinance 66-0-16, revising Title III of the Evanston City Code regarding taxis and other motor vehicles for hire. And this is for introduction.
Second. I know that some people came in late, and I'm wondering if any members of the taxi cab community would like to speak to this? And if you have read the ordinance.
Good evening, the council member.
Speak into the mic.
Okay, good evening, the council member. I'm here regarding the chapter under the ordinance that's 317-2. The city, we appreciate the city bring the price down for $100, but the problem we're having is the city still require us to have a car to renew the medallion.
We can't do much about requiring you to have a car.
Because right now, even if we put a car, if we spend $14,000 to put a car out, we still will not have a driver. And also, we asked the city, how long should we? What is the extension they give us to renew the medallion? Those are the things that is very unclear on the ordinance.
All right. Well, our city attorney is here. He will address that. But as you know, there is a moratorium on payment for that. City attorney, would you please address this?
Yes, Madam Chairman, members of council, Grant for our Corporation Council. There will be no fee going forward as contemplated by the ordinance. So the moratorium that's currently in place with respect to no fees being assessed for renewals would carry over and continue into the effective date of this ordinance. So what we wanted to do is make it seamless and also have a period where there could be a transition if further information needed to be provided to prospective medallion holders and operators. So no fee.
Yeah. So, but also, Alderman Wayne, it's just like no fees, but if we don't find a driver within 2 years, what will happen to us? Because right now, it's just like there are no driver out there, and some of us, and that's the question mark we're asking.
Well, let me ask you this. What would the state do if you couldn't find a driver for 2 years?
I don't know.
Well, we're going according to the state rules, and if the state overlooks that problem, and we can't get you a driver, I mean, you're going to.
No, we're
have
not
done.
asking.
Okay, all right. We've done just about as much as any community can do to bring the taxi industry up to the transportation network people. So, Alderman Braithwaite.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to attend the meeting on the 21st? You did?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
good. Unfortunately, I didn't. Was this
Yeah.
explained to the folks
Yeah,
that attended
Alderman Wayne
corporation?
was there. That was our question mainly is with the renewal. That's where our concern are with the renewal. That the city did bring the price down for us
Okay.
from $250 to $100. We appreciate it, but right now the city still requests that we should have a car we should have a license, we should have a registration to renew, and to have a registration, we have to spend $13,000. And to put a car out, dress up the car, do everything on the car, and the city is not clear in terms of right now with the new ordinance and places, you have to put a car, 6 years and newer. The car have to be like 2010 or newer. And this ordinance doesn't say anything in terms of what car should we put, if we can put 2000, if we can put 1999, is not like a...
We're going to get you the answer right
Okay.
now.
So there are two questions, right? The year and make and model of the vehicle.
Yeah, the
date,
years
what's
of the
minimum,
vehicle.
And then you also mentioned...
And also I'm mentioning that can we renew without having having a registration for the car?
Answering the first point, the ordinance actually is very clear in terms of all the regulations with respect to passing a city inspection or an age required for the car. Those are all gone. Those are all falling by the wayside. What we're trying to do is we're trying to follow state law. Every cab that operates pursuant to state law that must submit to and pass the safety test, which under the Illinois Vehicle Code, that's what the city of Evanston is concerned with, and what is that is what we are looking for in terms of compliance. So the issues of, is the city designating a specific car, a model, a year, make, that is all falling by the wayside as long as whatever vehicle is being operated as a taxi cab within the city limits submits to, passes the state safety test and can provide proof to the city, then you're good to go. In terms of the other costs associated with the cost of doing business, what we've done is we've removed from the city code all requirements that we can control in terms of the renewal fee, in terms of the upfront fee, in terms of a license fee. So a no-pay registration, a zero-sum registration.
We got no sticker anymore because we purchased the sticker, although some of the drivers don't live in Evanston, but it was required for us to buy the sticker.
Every cab that's soliciting business within the city of Evanston must register.
Okay.
So that goes for all cabs currently right now, and all cabs that may come in and register under this new no-fee registration scheme. So we're trying to level the playing field, and I hope I've answered both of your questions. I know it was a subject of discussion at the meeting last week. I hope I've amplified the information and answered your questions.
Yeah.
Mr. Farrar, just explain what will be required for the no-fee registration if you're going to drive in Evanston. What information will you require?
To qualify for that, you must have insurance, you must have proof of financial responsibility. Those are requirements under the Illinois Vehicle Code for licensed taxi cabs and for also transportation network providers. You must have a valid driver's license, and we want information of who you are and who you're working for. So it's a very streamlined process. It's all information that conforms to the requirements under the state. And obviously the most important thing, well, the three most important things: proof of insurance and or proof of financial responsibility, and proof that you are complying with the state mandated safety test, which is run by the Secretary of State.
So that goes for the taxi as well as any other taxi that the everybody that. Yeah, because right now, tell you the truth, it's in chaos. Somebody take my medallion and he just put it on his car and then start driving. It's a chaos out there now. People just take whatever medallion they want and they say, hey, those are no value anymore. And you see people are driving your own medallion you have to just fight back and call the police and everything. So this is what's going on out there now. And also what's going on out there now, the Uber driver coming to the post and the driver on the taxi are fighting with the Uber driver. So it's
Call the cops.
pretty much I have to tell you the truth, I'm out there pretty much it's a fight out there now. So that's what for myself I'm trying to understand what is really going on. So when the problem occurred, so I can take a proper action. So that was my question.
Well, you came to us months ago complaining with your drivers that we were duplicating everything that the state did, and you were absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And you were paying all of these fees and
we were paying
licenses
$413
and registrations, et cetera. And we said, this is crazy. You shouldn't be paying that. So we eliminated all of that for you. So
and thank you.
we thought we did what you asked us to do. So anyway, there's some more people who want to speak.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. And also, is the ordinance and the memo in our packet exactly the same one that was distributed at the meeting last week?
No, because what we heard at the meeting was some objection to still having the $100 registration fee. So upon hearing that, I went back to my desk and sharpened the pencils and struck out some of those sections. So we tried to make it responsive to the concerns that were expressed at the meeting.
Right. So if you're reading the memo and the ordinance that was at the meeting, there is a new version online that we're dealing with. So it has things in it that you probably didn't realize. Did you get that off the internet? No. Could we get some copies of that and the memo to hand out? Okay. We'll get you the new version. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Hi,
sir.
Mike Decker. I just, I have some questions like fingerprinting, background checks, the medical examination. Is that all gone now for all of us?
All gone.
Okay.
But I think you still have to do that through the state.
Well, but
Well, then Uber would have to do that for the state
yeah,
too.
exactly.
And we check on that. We police that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because the medical, you're a police officer. Is there against
You've
the
got
law?
to speak into the
I'm sorry. I'm asking simply, is there a law against driving with one eye and, only having one eye physically? I'm just wondering.
I would have to research that. I can't answer.
Okay.
if you could pass the test.
Okay, I know an Uber driver, one eye. So,
Okay.
yeah, truthfully.
It is bad.
Uber drivers working on our cab stands, okay? You just said call
Not
the
allowed.
police.
Not allowed. Yeah.
Okay, but here, they're doing that, and then when they are doing that, they aren't insured anymore. If they don't go through Uber, and they're making their own personal loads, and they're uninsured, and the customer is now in jeopardy, and they're doing that all the time.
You're not You're not talking about an Uber driver then. You're talking about some Wild West.
Well, it's an Uber
Uber drivers have to comply.
They would, yeah, but I'm saying that Uber driver gets a customer a couple times and they like each other and he says, I'll pick you up. Okay, fine. He goes and picks him up. He didn't go through Uber. They just went through each other. And now that customer is not insured and that person's driving a vehicle that's not, it's not a vehicle that is licensed at this point because it's not insured. This is happening.
If you know that to be a fact, I would get the license plate and report it to Uber. I'm sure they're not happy with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have to do that. Okay. And then the coupon system. All right. For 35 years, I've been dealing with the coupon system. And really, I think that there's a better way. With the coupon system, you'll get a driver that doesn't want to do it. And so you have a $30,000 fine if you don't pick up a senior citizen. Okay, well, let's not even get into the Uber driver not being able to do that. Because, if you could make it somehow where the meter goes on, the city gives certain coupon, different denominations. They can get $2 ones, $3 ones, whatever discounts you're giving. I don't know what that is. And then, then the meter goes on, and then they can discount that coupon off of the meter. And I really believe if a driver's getting his full fare because he has insurance to pay for, he has leases to pay for the gas. You know what it is. All right, so if he's getting his full fare, I wouldn't see that there's any kind of problem. Guys that the guys kind of shy away from the senior citizen coupons because they're fixed and they haven't gone up in a while, but that's okay. I know that you're thinking of making them go up,
Yep.
but what if you're getting a $10 coupon and it's a $13 ride, or you're getting a $10 coupon and it's a $5 ride? If you have different denominations, I think that's right, $3, $5, whatever, you turn the meter on and the person gets that, and the handicap, that person gets their discount, and the driver's not getting cheated. And I don't think a driver's going to have a problem picking up a person if they know they're not going to get cheated. I mean, that's actually happening in many, many, many other villages and towns. Honestly, this is the only system I know is Evanston that has just a flat rate coupon. No one else,
Well, first of all,
for sure.
there are drivers that are picking up
Yes.
senior citizens because we pay tens of thousands of dollars out on the bills list for, refunding the coupons. So we do.
The driver doesn't get that, and he still has to pay his fares. If you use
But
that.
I'm saying they are being used, and the drivers are picking people up. It's very obvious from what we reimburse.
Are you saying that a cab company is not paying their
No.
driver when they present the company with a coupon for a fare? The senior citizen presents the coupon to the driver turns the coupon in, they do get paid, do they not?
Well, no, it comes off, it's all equitable. It comes off of their lease.
Right, so they do get paid.
You get paid. My point is, if you've got a $5 ride and you've got a $10 coupon, because you're talking about putting them up and they haven't been up in how many years? 9? Well, if you make, excuse me, if you make a few different coupons and give them the discount, whatever you do, percentage-wise, that way the meter can go on. The driver has a $7 ride. Well, then the passenger gives him a $4 coupon and the difference in cash. That's what I'm
I think it's a
saying.
very good idea.
If I may, one of the reasons that we don't do that is to keep a very simple transaction, so we don't end up with a senior citizen ending up trying to figure out how much is a coupon, how much is the actual
Coupon
fare.
says exactly how much it is, and the meter says exactly what it is, and if it's a $3 ride and you have a $2 coupon, then you pay the driver $1. I don't.
I understand your point. I hope you'll
Most
understand ours.
villages do that.
Well, I've worked in 3 villages that had this, and we had set dollar amounts as well. That's Downers Grove and LaGrange and here. So communities do vary what they do. Our program is designed to protect the senior citizens such that they present the coupon, get their ride, and they do not have to worry about any further business transaction. Now, we can take a look at
I
it,
think we
Madam
should- I
Chair.
think
We
we
will
should take a
review
look,
it, but I just want to review that because it was meant to be a protection for the senior citizen.
Okay, well, it should be very easy to figure out or study because all the other suburbs around here do it this way,
Well,
or some
we will-
sort of way like that.
We will definitely look at that.
Thank you.
We will definitely.
All right, thank you.
Just,
Alderman Holmes, do you have any comments?
She may have put it on mute for a second.
All right. Alderman Braithwaite?
thank you, Madam Chair. So, Ms. Marie,
Wait.
Go ahead, Alderman Holmes.
I said, I'm good. I don't have any comments.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Braithwaite?
no, I just wanted to acknowledge Ms. Marie back there, and I know that there were a couple of people that we've seen over the periods of the last couple of months. And so I hope I realize that this does not solve all the issues that are out there in the taxi cab community, but I hope you feel like there was a win that took place tonight because through your advocacy and presence, I mean, we heard you. And so the fees that were being issued by the city are now removed. And I was going to ask Grant, just for all the taxi cab drivers who maybe not paying as close attention as this group, can we just send a quick little memo out to everyone who's registered? I mean, just a handful of people. And I definitely want to thank the legal department, Ms. Knapp, and all the work of our city staff for helping us to get to this point. I do have one quick question, and it's in 3-17-10, the penalty. So we're saying that owner-operators or drivers who violate the provisions of this chapter will be fined $300 for each violation. So are we fining where the state, meaning if I get pulled over and I don't have my driver's license or insurance, that's a state fine. So are you fining if they don't have state registration? I'm just trying to understand what that $300 would be attached to, since we're not.
For instance, Alderman Braithwaite, if a transportation network provider is operating in a cab stand and we're specifically saying cannot do that because you're not a taxi,
Right.
then you would be subject to that $300 fine. We also have the other provision with respect to a violation. There would be an option, for instance, if a cab didn't have a safety test, but they did in fact have proof, it might not be in the cab, that whatever, a warning ticket could be issued. And if there's not proof of compliance within the 20-day grace period, then that would be subject to a fine after being written to administrative adjudication. So we tried to provide a grace period in there, but really I think where the fine comes in and would be easy to adjudicate would be in those instances where, for example, a TNP is operating where it shouldn't.
Okay.
We need a business license on the car. Like right now, everybody who's driving an Evanston cab, you must have a business license in the cab.
City of Evanston taxi cab license is all that would be required. The business license as part of the current code language, that goes away as well.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Pardon me? Well, we haven't, we need to vote.
We need to vote.
We need to vote. All right,
Can
we're
we
not
sus-
holding this.
No, can we suspend the rules and do it for action?
It depends. I have no objection
Okay.
to it, all right?
All right, then I'd like to move item A11, the ordinance 66-16, revising Title III, Chapter 17, regarding taxi cabs, motor vehicles for hire, and I'd like to amend it for introduction and action.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we have, thank you.
Thank you.
We have the item for discussion, the City of Evanston's use of pesticides, or lack of use of them.
Yes, Madam Chair, Paul D'Agostino is here from our Environmental Services Bureau to give a short presentation.
Thank you. Okay, let's go, folks.
I could swear we didn't, we stopped it a long time ago.
Good evening, Madam Chair,
Good evening.
members of the committee. Paul D'Agostino, Environmental Bureau Services Chief. I just want to do a brief presentation, kind of an overview of the memo that's actually in the packet.
Right.
Which one is going? Down there.
It's okay.
Okay, the city actually passed an integrated pest management resolution back in 2010, and since that point, we've reduced our use of pesticides in the parks by over 50%, including products that contain glyphosate. Last week, or last meeting, Roundup was spoken about quite a bit. We actually don't use Roundup, we use a generic form of that, but it's basically the same active ingredient, which is glyphosate. We follow all state regulations issued by the Department of Agriculture, including state certification of all employees that apply pesticides anywhere in the city. They all use appropriate personal protective equipment based on individual pesticide labels and safety data sheets. So whatever the label in the safety data sheet says to use, that's what we use. So we don't expose our employees to anything unnecessarily at all. Beginning in May of 2016, all pesticide use along the lakefront parks was actually discontinued. Our current practices include the twice yearly spot treatments with this product that contains glyphosate. We do this in hard-to-reach places that really the users of the park don't really frequent at all, such as fence lines, sidewalk cracks, shrub beds, signposts, and light pole bases, and brick paver areas. We also do an annual application of granular
Excuse me, Paul. Could you all close that door? We are conducting a meeting here, in case you didn't notice.
We also do an annual application of a granular pre-emergent to large shrub bed areas, which prevents the weeds from sprouting in the first place in the spring, so we don't have to spray anything later. When we remove invasive trees and shrubs from natural areas, we also use an application to the stumps and the cut ends of those things when they're cut, using actually a small paintbrush. So while we're literally painting the stumps. We also do occasional applications of various fungicides and insecticides during the growing season in our Merrick Park Rose Garden in order to keep the roses healthy. We do occasional applications of aquatic chemicals to the ponds at both Lovelace and Dawes, and those are very low toxicity products that are specifically made to be safe for fish and for birds, for waterfowl. We use outside vendors to treat certain athletic fields with selective herbicides to kill the weeds prior to field renovation work. So once those fields are treated, we actually take them out of service for several months while we're restoring the grass. We also lastly do the triannual treatments of all of our public elms with an injectable fungicide to prevent Dutch elm disease. Our staff is recommending that we continue this limited use of certain pesticides to these specific sites. This is an important part of our overall maintenance plan. Would greatly increase our time for maintenance activities if we were to cease using these. It's really essential. We don't perform any broadcast applications of pesticides to entire park turf areas, and we haven't for actually almost 20 years now. We have been and will continue to look for safer alternatives to all of the currently used products, including those that contain glyphosate. We're currently experimenting with the use of a vinegar solution, as a matter of fact. And that concludes the presentation, if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Alderman Nguyen, do you have any questions?
No, I was just going to comment and say thank you very much to Paul. Before I was ever on the City Council, the Environment Board, I was on the Environment Board, and integrated pest management was one of the key issues that we raised, and Paul is right, that the city has done this, has not sprayed or done the broadcast use of pesticides in our parks for a very, very long time. You know, way ahead of many other communities around us. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Move adjournment.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next meeting will begin at, let's see, 7:15. Let's see, 7:15. I'm going to say 7:20 so we can take a quick break and get back here. So planning and development will begin at 7:20.